Kal Kadosh, Boker Or, Masechet Bava Metzia Daf Kuf Aleph Amud Aleph, 101A1. Says the two dots on the top of the page. Shataf Nahar Zetav. Imagine right now you have a case where the Nahar comes and it moved the clusters, it moved the entire tree to another field, and then it started making the fruits. Amar Ula Amar Shakish. Says Ula Amar Shakish. Shoshana, what are we dealing with? Ela Shenekru Begushehen. Right? It went with the karka as well. Ulachar Shalosh, and then it already passed 3 years that it already rooted itself into the field of the friend. But if it's going to be within its first 3 years, everything belongs to the balazitim. The Elmaleh, as he says, even if you would have planted it within 3 years, do you eat it? Obviously not. Right? You can't eat it because that's orla. Meaning, mimanav shach, the owner of the land cannot eat it. Because if Bemet, he would have taken these clusters and he would have planted it, it's considered orla. And anyway, the first 3 years you can't eat it at orla. So therefore, within the first 3 years, for sure it belongs to the Baal Hazeitim. Okay? So says the Gemara, Elmaleh, but he could tell him, fine. You're right. But if I would have planted it, La'achar Shalosh, after the 3 years, I would have eaten 100% of it. Right? So he says, Hashta kachalta, right? Palga badai. He says, now you're dividing with me after the 3 years as well. So therefore, it's very nice what you're trying to say, but it's not true though. Because now it's chetzi, right? Everyone understood? One more time. What happened? I've got my clusters of grapes. The clusters of grapes, the Shatfa Nahar, it took it to my friend's field. I kept quiet. And it basically rooted in my friend's field. So within the first 3 years, says the Gemara, you get 100%. Right? Why? Because he could tell the friend, listen, even if you would have planted it, you wouldn't have been able to eat. Not a thing. It's orla. So therefore, right, since right now it wasn't a new planting, it was really it's mine, and it's already an old vine. So therefore, I get 100% of it. So the guy comes and he tells him, I'm sorry. Why? Because Bemet, if I would have planted it, you're right. The first 3 years, I get 0. But after the first 3 years, I get 100%. Now, even after the first 3 years, it's 50-50. So even from the beginning, we should do 50-50. So he says, Ela kiata Ravi, when Ravi came, he says, the name of Shakish, Lo shanu ela kishenakru begushehem. It went with its karka as well. Uvetok shalosh, and within the first 3 years, aval achar shalosh, but after 3 years, hakol lebalakarka. Everything belongs to the balakarka. Elmaleh, because he could tell him, everything belongs to me. So you're right. The first 3 years, the neighbor. So the first 3 years, the bala anavim or zetim, whatever it is, the bala zetim. After the first 3 years, 100% to the bala karka. So says the Gemara, but he could tell him, netat, if you would have planted within the first 3 years, you would have eaten nothing, and now you're eating half, which means that here you are benefiting, because the first 3 years you're getting half. Technically, the first 3 years you should have gone to nothing. So what's going on? So says the Gemara, mishum damale, because he could tell him, if I would have planted it, have a katine, right? They would have been very, very small. And I would have been able to come and plant underneath it selek and other yirakot, okay? And therefore, which would have stopped, and therefore I couldn't plant anything underneath it. So therefore I actually lost out. So the fact that I lost out, that's why I should get it. And therefore, that's why we said that after the first 3 years, he gets it. So Tana, we actually learned him, right? If the Bala Etzim tells the Bala Sadeh that I'm coming and I want to take away the etz from your field, we don't listen to him anymore, right? Because after 3 years, we don't permit him to uproot it. But if he wants to come and he wants the money or whatever it is, right? He says, you could take the money, but nothing else. Meaning you can't take the tree. Meaning after 3 years that the tree was already in my field, meaning I'm the neighbor, you can't take away the tree anymore. You could get the money of the tree, but you cannot take away the tree anymore. My time, what's the reasoning? Because of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. So I'm Rabbi Yirmiyah comes and he says, right? For example, here at Sicha Rabbah, we need the Rabbah for this. What does that mean? We need, right, a Gadol to say it, because it's a Chidush. Right? Because if it wasn't Rabbi Yochanan that said this in the name of Rav, right, we wouldn't have known that from our own. That means basically because of the Yishuv of Eretz Yisrael, right, they didn't want that each one is going to come and start taking the fields and then leaving it empty. So because of that, we just left it. It stays in that field. You could only take the money. You cannot take the field in itself. Tananata, we learned over there in the Mishnah. Rabbi Yudah says, if you're going to receive Sadeh Avotav from the Goy Barisut, which means that you have to come and you have to work it, right? Maaser, you have to take off masrot. And you have to give, right? The Bala Sadeh has to give him this chelek, okay? Which means that he's not going to come, right? That he's going to lose from his own for the masrot of the chelek of the nochri, okay? Because since obviously it belongs to avotav, right? Because this used to be avotav, obviously, right? המקבל את שדה אבותיו מן הנוכרי בריסור, על מנת שיעבדו ביתו לסחרו, חלק מצווה שתצא ממנה. Okay, there's a socher, choker, and aris. So here we're talking about arisut. Yes. So he comes and he says, because basically he's actually losing from the other one. That's what he's saying over here. So here it says in number 15, he says, if right now the Sadeh has 100 seah, so the Balabait, the Nochri, and the Israel Aris, they divide it. So therefore he comes and he says, for sure, the Nochri doesn't want to give Trumot Masrot. Why does he have to give Trumot Masrot? So therefore he comes out that he has to take 50 seah shlemim, and he has to take out all the different Masrot, which is going to be 21 seim. Satayim of Tuma, 10 for Maaser Rishon, and 9 for Maaser Ani or Maaser Sheni. So therefore, he has to take all of it from his portion and not from the Nochri. Okay? So that's what he's doing. So he says, Savrua, we thought, my Sedeh Avotav. What does it mean, Sedeh Avotav? Eretz Yisrael. So why is it called Sedeh Avotav? Sedeh Avraham means Yaakov. The Kasavar, and we hold here, En Kinyan LeNochri Beretz Yisrael, Leafkia Miyad Maaser. Meaning a goy cannot acquire something in Eretz Yisrael to take it out of Trumot Masrot. And that's why he's saying that you're still chayav. So this aris, he becomes like a chocher. A chocher is basically somebody, right, that he has to pay the balabait the full amount because he's basically coming, he has to pay a set amount. It's not just an aris. An aris is a sharecropper. What's a sharecropper? We share the crop. The sadeh makes 100, we share 50-50. A chocher, I'm paying you an amount, and it doesn't matter how much it comes out, whether it comes out 100 or 70. I have to pay you the same amount. That's called a choker. Okay? So he says, ma choker. That's heter mechira. It's not that simple. A lot of people don't agree with heter mechira. Yeah. Heter mechira is not that simple. The Rabbanut Rashi permits it, but it's not that simple. Heter mechira. So he says, ma choker ben eved uben lo avad. And by the way, that it could be a little bit different because nowadays the only question is it Doraita Drabanan? Because Shemitah nowadays, if there's no Bet HaMikdash, there's no this. So then that's why it's a little bit different than the. But again, he says here, Ma choker ben avad ben lo avad. Doesn't matter whether he works it or not. Baya Suri he has to give the Trumot Masarot and everything. The Chiporei Chovot because it's like he's paying his chova, his chov. Af mekabel nami, so to the mekabel also Chiporei Chovot it's considered the Chiporei Chovoto me'aser venoten. He's going to take off the maaser and he's going to give it to the Baal HaSadeh. Okay? Fine. So, Amaleh Rav Kana, Rav Papi, says Rav Kana to Rav Papi, Ve'amnilan, some people say to Rav Zvid, Elahad Tanya, that which we learned in a Braita. Rabbi Yudah come and he says, Matzik, Nochri, Me'aser, Venotelno. If somebody's going to come and he's going to accept, right, from the Sadeh Avotav, and he's going to get, so he's going to give the maaser, Venotelno, and he gives it to him. My idea matzik, kusama now matzik. Afilu em matzik nami. Even if the goy is not coming, he just acquires it. It's going to be the same anacha. Meaning, why are you going to tell me now that the aris yehudi is chayav la'aser? It's everything. Why? What's going on? So he says, Ella baradu le'olam sheyesh kinyan. Really, be'emet, there is a kinyan. Meaning, a nochri can come and he could acquire it in Eretz Yisrael. Lafkia miyad maaser, to take it out from the maaser. Umekabel, says the Gemara, umekabel lavke chocher dami. She says, 1 second, the Mekabel Laris is not considered a choker. Right? Umay Sedeh Avotav. So then what is Sedeh Avotav? Sedeh Avotav Mamash. It's Mamash, the property of the Avotav. But the rabbi is coming to give a knas. Right? The idea the Chaviv Ale, because since it's so Chaviv, right? Because it used to be the Sedeh Avotav, Tafi ve'azil. You're going to go and you're going to add on more. And therefore you're going to even be mafsid and everything. Kabella, and you're going to accept it. But if it's anybody else, no. Meaning by everything else, we're not going to say such thing. Okay? So says the Gemara, why is it, right, that now the Rabbanan are going to make a knas? So Rabbi Yochanan says, "Kedesh te bara biyado," in order that the son should want to buy it back, right, from the nochri. Meaning, we want to purposely cause that he's going to buy back the property of his fathers. Remember, we're talking about an Eretz Yisrael, so we purposely want that. Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah says, "Kegondat sicha Rabba for this. This is why we need Rabba. Because obviously Rabba is an Adam Gadol, and therefore we need it." Itmar, it was stated, "Hayored letoch sadeh chavero." If somebody's going to go down to the field of his friend, unta'ash shelo b'shut. Imagine I go to your field and I plant a tree without permission. Amar Rav says, "Shamin lo." We're going to evaluate it. Right? But you always get the lower amount. Shmuel says, we're going to evaluate how much does the person want to check in order to come and to start planting. And that's what he has to balance it, has to pay as a yored. Which means that even though the shevach is going to be less than this, he's chayav l'shalem. He's obligated to come and to pay that. So there's going to be a machloket, right? Is it going to be yodol yonah, yodol tachtona? Here we're talking about machloket Rav and Shemuel. Again, according to Rav, Yadola Tachtona, which means that he's going to get the least, whether it's of the appreciation or of what you spent. And according to Shemuel, no, even if you only appreciated a certain amount, but you spent a certain amount, you get paid more. Yadola Yuna. So, okay, but he said, but at the end of the day, you appreciated the field. So I'm Rav Papa says, Velo pligi, but it's not a machloket. It all depends whether it's fitting, right, to plant or not. Yeah? So he says it all depends whether it's a field which is fitting to plant or not. It wasn't said mefurash, it was said as a general rule. Okay, because they came in front of Rav, right? And he told them zil shumle, right? Go and tell him, go evaluate how much still have to pay him. Amaleh, he says lo baina, I don't want. Why? I don't want it at all. The Amaleh, he says zil shumle, go yadola tachtuna. And your hand is going to be right on the bottom, okay? Meaning the lower amount. So Elmaleh comes and he says, "Lo baina," but I didn't want it, right? That's what David was saying. I don't want it in my field at all. No, lasof chazi degade v'kamantale. All of a sudden they went and they saw that he started putting, fences around, right? All of a sudden, so what happened? Elmaleh galita data denichala. You're right. If you would have showed the bemet, you wouldn't have wanted it all. Okay, maybe I could have heard you. The fact that you started putting a fence, and that means you're protecting the tree because you don't want anybody to take the fruits of the tree. Zil shumle, go evaluate it. Yadola tachtona, but he gets the lower of the value, whether it's of the shevach of the karka or of the hotzaot of what you're actually spending in order to do it. Itmar, it was stated. Imagine right now you find a field and it's abandoned. You go in and you build it. Now you didn't do it with permission. But you built a beautiful thing. So what happens? Amarlo, he says, "Etzaiva vanai ani notel." I'm going to take the etziva vanai. Why? I want to take it back. Rav Nachman says, "Shomino, yeah, he could do that." Why? Because if he's upset at it or whatever, he could come. He could take it all back. Rav Sheshat says, "No, en shomino. We don't listen to him. You can't take away your wood and your things. You can't take it away." So, Meitvei, we're going to ask the following question. Rashbago man, Rashi says, Bet Shammai says, "Shomino, we're going to listen to him." And Bet Hillel says we're not going to listen to him. Lemar of Nachman, are we going to say that Rav Nachman holds like Bet Shammai? Talachaz like Bet Shammai? It doesn't make sense. So says the Gemara, who de Amar Kaitana? He says like this Tana. The Tanya we learned in the Braita. Shomin lo, we're going to listen to him. Divrei Shimon Lazar. Shimon Gamliel Omer Bet Shammai Omrim Shomin lo, Bet Hillel Omrim Shomin lo. Which means that we go according to whether we do listen or we don't listen. So what was the maskana? My havala. Amar of Yaakov, Amar of Yochanan says of Yaakov. The name of Yochanan Kufalef Amud Bet. 101b, Bebait Shomino, Besadeh en Shomino. If you go to your friend's field and you build a house, Shomino, we do listen to him, like Rav Nachman. But if it's a Sadeh, we don't listen to him. Besadeh might have, what's the reasoning? He says, Mishum Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, because we want Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. So in the field, you're not allowed to take it away. Ikade'amni, or another reason, Shumkach Shadara, because when it's in the field and you're going to take it away, so therefore you're weakening the field. So therefore, you're not allowed to do that. What's the difference between them? What about in Chutz? Because if it's going to be that you're weakening the field, so then you could also say that in Chutz. But if you're going to say Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, it's only in Eretz Yisrael, it's not in Chutz. So therefore, that's going to be the difference between the two different shitot. Okay? Mishnah. 101b Mishnah. Hamaskir bait lechavero bimot geshamim. If you're going to rent a house to your friend during the winter time, Eno yachol leotzio, you cannot take him out, right? Until the summertime. So what does that mean? Nechag the Pesach will be mota chama, but during the summertime, you have 30 days, right? That means 30 days you have to give him. The Gemara is going to explain the Mishnah, obviously. Okay, uvakrachim, in big, very big cities. Echad yimot chama, it doesn't matter whether it's winter or summertime. 12 months. Says the Mishnah. What? Yes. Yeah. Uvachaniyot. I'm talking about stores. Echad hayirot v'chad krachim. Doesn't matter whether it's a city, right, which are small cities or big cities. 12 months. Rashbag says, chanut shel nachtomim. We're talking about like a bakery, shel tzabayim, or of painters or things like that. He says shalosh shanim. You need 3 years, right? Because basically they need much more time, right, in order to come and to relocate. Yeah. Basically, these are like relocating rules, as we're mentioning. Okay, fine. Says the Gemara. What's the reasoning of the Yemot Geshamim? Because when a person is going to rent his house and he tells the balabait about Yemot Geshamim, it's for sure that he wants to rent it for the entire winter time. Yemot Chama also nami. Meaning like this, he's saying, I don't understand you. In the winter time, I'm going to rent it. I want to be there the entire winter. Same thing with the summer. When I'm going to rent it in the summer, I want to be there the entire summer. So what's the difference? In the winter time, everybody wants a house because it's winter. So you need a house. So therefore, because of that, that's why you're going to stay there for the rest of the winter. But he says, says the Gemara, 1 second. Let's see the Seifa then. The Seifa says, in a big city, Echad doesn't matter whether it's whether it's winter or summer. It's 12 months. What happens now if it finishes the schirut during the Yemot Geshamim? For sure you could get him out. But now why? Yeah, he comes and he says, it's not common. Meaning like this. This is all talking about that I just rented to you stam. What happens if I have a contract? And the contract finishes in the middle of the winter. So now what? That's it? I understand. I have a contract. And so he says, why are you allowed to get rid of him? He says, you can't find a house. Sama Rav Yehuda says, Leodiaktani. You're right. We're talking about letting them know. And here you're letting them know. Right? This is what I'm saying. When you come and you rent a house to your friend, and you can't let him out in the wintertime. Right? The Pesach. Unless you're going to tell him from the beginning, which means before the wintertime, right? It cannot be like after the 15th of Elul, which is 30 days before the Chag Sukkot. So that means from the 15th of Elul, you already have to tell him, listen, I need you to get out in whatever it is, in December. Yeah, in Tevet, whatever it is. Okay? The Tanya Miyachi, we also learned this in the Braita, Keshamru Shoshim, when they told you 30 days, or where they told you 12 months, Lo Amru Ela Lo Dio, it's 12 months to give notice. Okay? And just like the renter has to let him know, so too the socher has to let him know. The Elmaleh is you could tell him, all the time, if you would have told me, I would have put other people there. Meaning, meaning it works both ways. Right? Just like I have the obligation to let you know that I'm evicting you, right? Or I'm getting rid of you, you have to let me know that you're leaving. Okay? Amar Ravasi. Ravasi says, Im nichnas yom echad bimot geshamim, eno yechol yotzeo min hachag ad Pesach. All he has to go is he goes in one day during the winter, and I can't get rid of him until after Pesach. 1 day. That's all that he needs. So says the Gemara, but 1 second. Vanan shoshim yom kama. I thought we said that you needed 30 days, right? Before. What's going on? So says the Gemara, no. This is what I'm saying. Im nichnas yom echad bimot geshamim mehani shoshim yom. Right? If you went, right, 1 day during Mot Geshamim, it helps the 30 days, which means im nichnas from 30 days to Tochim Geshamim, right? So for example, he didn't let him know until the 16th of Elul. So once he only let him know on the 16th of Elul, Eno Yechol Lotzio, he does not need to get rid of him minachag until the Pesach. Okay. Amar Ravuna. Ravuna says, Vimba lerabot bedamea mirabeh. If right now the mosquito is going to come and he's going to be mosif on the schirut, right, on the renting, so he says he's mirabeh, he's going to add it on. Amar le Rav Nachman, says Rav Nachman, hay linkate benichseve, bekufse, delishpeke leglima. Says Rav Nachman to Ravuna, he says, this is compared to a case that somebody's taking the clothing Here it says anything which is hung is called kufsa. For example, in a shkol of tmarim, right? Even if it's going to be a cluster of dates, which is on the tree. So, this is something that you're grabbing onto something and you're forcing him to let go of it, which means if right now you come and you permit the renter, right, to come and to pick up the schirut, so therefore it's kilu, you're throwing him out of the house. Yeah? Meaning, what did we just say? You can't throw him out of the house, but you go pick up the rent. Whoa. Very nice. So that's what you're doing. I'm going to double the rent. You can't say anything. So I just threw you out. What's the chokhmah? So he says, he says, no. It went up in price. And since it went up in price, you could. So for example, until that time, the price was a certain amount. Right? All of a sudden now, I can pick up the price. So I say, okay, now the rent is higher. Yes, because all the rents, not price gouge. I just said, all the houses went up in rent. So since it's like a month-to-month rent. So since you're doing, so you're right, I can't throw you out. I can't evict you because it's the middle of winter. But I can pick up the price. All the prices went up. So now I can charge you the higher price. Yeah, he's going to stay inside, but he has to pay the higher price. Well, that's something different. You take him to Bedin and then you don't have to pay, but he has to pay the higher price. Okay? So says the Gemara, Pshita, it's obvious. Nafile beta, right? What happens right now if the house just collapsed? So obviously, he could take him out without anything. Elmaleh, he says, Lo adif minai, right? Your schut is not better than mine. Right? Which means, right? I couldn't have known that it was going to fall. So same thing here. Meaning, I'm not obligated now to find you another place. Right? That's it. Go to another place. Find another place. Yeah? Problem. Zabne, or orte, or yavim matana. If right now the balabait sold the house, or he died and left it for Yerushim, or he gave it as a present, Amarle, the socher could say, Lo adifta migavra dati minai. You don't have a zechut in the house more than the person that's coming from the balabait arishon. So therefore, just like he's not zachai to take me out, you're not zachai to take me out. So imagine, and that's, by the way, that's the secular law today as well. Meaning you come and you sell your house. Somebody's renting it. The second guy that just bought it cannot get rid of you. But just like the first guy couldn't have got rid of you, this guy can also not get rid of you. If he wants to get rid of you, he has to pay a good amount, yeah? Klale libre. He gave it as a present to his son in order that he should live there when he gets married. Chazina we find out. Could he have told him or not? He should have told him. And if not, Elmaleh, you could tell him, you're not better than me. Meaning, listen, I apologize. Story. There was a person that he bought a sfina filled with barrels of wine. But he didn't find a place where to put the wine. He told this woman, do you have a place where I could rent? No. He went and he got married to her. So, right, the woman came and she rented him a place to put the wine. Yeah? Azal lebete, he went home. Katav la gita, he wrote her a get, v'shadala, and he sent it to her. The guy was a smart cookie, no? Yeah? So Azla, one more time, he needed a place for the barrels. She said that she didn't have any place. He got married to her. She rented him a place. And then he went and he wrote her a get. He went home, he wrote her a get, and he sent it to her. Azla ihi, so she went. Agra shekolai, right? She got sabalim, mineube, and she took everything. That's it. From the money of, she took sabal. Sabal is a big guy that carries barrels of wine, movers. So they went and they took, and what happened? They went and they put it in the Rabbim. Amar Ravuna Yeshua, kasher asa ken yaselo, gemulo yashuv berosho. Which means since he didn't do it properly, she also did not do properly, right? And therefore, she's fine. Im navar titabar, im ikesh titapal.
Yeah, but that's how you teach him.
Since he came and he did the trick, so too she's allowed to do the trick. He says it. והוא הדין לכל מי שאיתה לחברו והכניס לביתו חפצים, רשאי בעל הבית לסלקם מביתו בדרך זו עצמה. The Rambam says, imagine somebody tricked you to keep things by you. And he tricked you. It's not much a trick. You're allowed to do the same thing. Take it, boom. Go take it. Mamash like that. So says the Gemara, no mi by a chatzer delo kaim agra. And we're not talking about now a case of a chatzer which was not meant for rent. Even a chatzer the kaim agra. Even a chatzer which was for rent. Amra le, she could tell him, I want to rent it to everybody, but not to you, because you are like an Arya Arba. You're like a lion which is coming, just waiting to how do you call it? To fall on its prey, to ambush, to fall on its prey. What does that mean, Mamash? You're like a lion. Now, who does these things? He comes, fine. Last part, Rashba Gomer says, Shel nachtumim v'shel tzabayim, of bakers or of painters, 3 years. Tana, why? Because they have a long time, meaning that all these things, right, they're going to lose a lot of their credits. There's a lot of these guys, they live on credits. So because of that, they're going to lose a lot of money. So because of that, you don't allow it. Nachtom is a baker, and Tzabayin are the painters. Okay, fine. Next Mishnah on Kufalef Amud Bet. Amaskir bay lechavero. Here you just don't understand because we don't live on credits. But in the olden days, or for example, even nowadays, you go to many places in the world, everything's on credit. Fine, but these ones were the main ones that a lot of it was on credit. Yeah. Hamaskir bay lechavero, Mishnah. If you're going to rent out a house to your friend, the maskir chayav delet. So maskir is the one that has to put the delet. Baneger, right? And he has to put also a bariach, which is basically the how do you call it? The bolts, right? Uvamanul, and also to lock the door. So basically, he has to put all the part, meaning, I'm renting you a house. It can't be that you're coming to the house and there's no door. I have to put you the door. I have to put you the bolt and the actual lock. It's basically like something that comes out on the sides of the door in order to lock the door. Okay? Uvechol davar, right? And anything which is necessary for the house. Shemase uman. Aval davar shenu mase uman. But anything which is not mase uman, hasocher osel. So the socher has to do it. Meaning anything which is needed for the house, I have to put. I'm the renter. But anything else is going to be the, I'm the renter. I'm the one that's renting the house. Sorry. Right? If not, then it's the renter that has to do it. Hazevel, some of the fertilizer, right? Which is the manure of the animals. Shel balabait. It belongs to the balabait, the maskid. But he only gets that which comes out of the oven, right? That's the only thing that he gets. Says the Gemara, Maskir chayav lamilot dlatot, liftoch lo chalonot, open up windows, lechazek lo tikra, to strengthen the roof, lismoch lo korah, to come and put beams. Socher chayav lasol sulam, but the socher is obligated to make for himself a sulam, right? A ladder, and the other one is not obligated to do that. He says because since the roof is not a common usage and it's only once in a while, so therefore the balabait is not obligated to do that. Meaning I don't have to fix the attic for you. Why? Because it's not a common thing. You want to use the attic, but you have to do it yourself. Okay? La solo make, the same thing the socher has to make a make, because again, if right now you're not obligated to use the attic, and now you want to go up and you want to use the attic, so you have to make the ladder and you have to make the make, which is the fence around the roof. La solo marzev, or you have to make a marzev. The marzev is basically like the gutter. And you're the one that's obligating the roof. Okay? So that's Rav Sheshat. Mezuzah almi. Who puts a mezuzah on the house? The mosquito, the socher. So the mezuzah says the Gemara what? Mezuzah? Hamar of Meshashia. Mezuzah chovat dari. It's obligation of the one that's living in it. So whoever's living in it, he's the one that's put the mezuzah. Ela mekom mezuzah. Says that wasn't the question because that was the obvious answer. The question was mekom mezuzah. So Elmaleh Sheshat says Sheshat. He learned the version of Maseh Uman. Socher oseu. The high nami lavas. It's not Maseh Uman, and therefore Sheshat who right begofta the kanya. You could come and you put it in the halal of the kaneh. You could just hang it there. So therefore, since it's not Maseh Uman, the socher is obligated to do it. And then obviously we continue. Or let's just get to the two dots. The two dots says Tanur Banam. We learned in the Braita. Right, maskir bay lechavro la socher la solo mezuzah. He has to make the socher has to make the mezuzah. So yotze when he leaves, he's not allowed to leave with the mezuzah. He has to leave the mezuzah there. Okay, when he does it. Uminochri to do the nochri notla biyadov yotze. He does take it out. Umaaseh beechad shenitla biyado. There was a story that a person that he took it with him. Yatzad he left. The kavad yishlo shne banav. He buried his wife and children. That's why it's a sakana. A person leaves the house unless he's selling it to a goy. He's not allowed to take the mezuzot. Yeah, you leave the mezuzah. You're right. And even if the renter has to put it, he has to leave it there.
Only if it's a Jewish renter. No,
that's what we're talking about. Okay. Yeah.
Just one mezuzah, no?
Which one?
Just one. You leave just one.
No. The mezuzot.
All of them.
All the mezuzot.
What, on all the rooms?
Yeah, the mezuzot. So here he says, Maaseh Listora, you're going to tell me this is a story that goes against what we just said. He says, no. Amar of Sheshat says of Sheshat Reisha, we're going on the Reisha, which is prohibiting on the Socher, Bait Misrael, to take away the mezuzah. So therefore, that's what we're saying, that you're not allowed to come and you're allowed to take the